Well, many of you have gone online and submitted your questions for Pat for today. So, Pat, let's start with Mark. He asks, why are so many Christians in financial hardship?
You know, the Bible says, I have been young, and I'm now old, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging for bread. God looks after the righteous. Why are they in trouble? I think you're not excused from the laws of economics just because you're a Christian. And if you do not handle your finances properly, if you don't budget, if you spend more than you take in, you know, some of these people, I've had some of these ministers and others saying, well, we're putting our TV program on the air on faith. Well, faith meant they're going to run on our air, and if they couldn't pay, we had to, you know,
pay the bill,
pick up the bill. That's right. You know, so that was their faith. I mean, baloney. You know, it was improvident. So if a lot of Christians are improvident, I'm sorry, they live like the world.
Yeah. You know, you've said often also that knowledge is power.
Exactly.
And we've offered many times articles from here that people could read or things that they could watch.
So many ways, absolutely.
Wise investing. Okay, this is Cynthia who says, I've been trying to pay off my credit cards, but I'm having a hard time paying my other bills. Will I be doing a bad thing if I file for bankruptcy?
The idea is bankruptcy a sin or something? The answer is no, because, you know, in the Old Testament, there was a year of Jubilee, and there was a periodic time that the debts were canceled. Debt, the borrower is the servant of the lender, is the type of bondage, and the Lord wants people to be free. So after a time, you say, well, you know, I can't pay, and so you're released from your debts. And I don't think there's any sin. But the banks got together and put some restrictions this last time around, and it's a lot harder to get excused from certain kinds of debts. It used to be you had a clean slate. Now it's more difficult, and if you go into Chapter 11, which is can be very expensive, Chapter 7 just takes everything you've got and wipes it out. But no, it's not a sin. It may be a sin to take all your money, give it to your wife, or put it in a house and move to Florida and then declare bankruptcy. I mean, if you're playing games and trying to defraud your creditors, that's a different matter.
There are some ramifications from it, though, that you should know about before you file
absolutely.
bankruptcy that will affect your credit rating and the ability to...
It will, 6, 7 years. You know, you've got a problem. So that is a problem, but if you don't borrow money, then it's not a problem. But nevertheless, if you're burdened down with debt, you've got to come free, and there's nothing wrong with it. But please, as Terry said, remember the ramifications. All right.
Okay, this is Bryant who asks, is there a difference between telling a little white lie to cheer someone up and telling an out-and-out lie?
You know, somebody came to Billy Sunday and he said, Reverend Sunday, how can I stop exaggerating? And Sunday looked at him and said, call it lying. And that's how you stop.
But I know what they're saying. You know, sometimes there is something that you might say to someone that would be hurtful if you, for no reason, for no good reason.
The Bible says speaking the truth in love. But if you look at somebody and say, you look awful. That's not speaking in love. Yeah, just keep your mouth shut.
Even if they do look awful.
You can always find something good to say about somebody, but little white lies, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay, this is Heather who says, I keep having a bad dream where my little sister gets hurt. Does God speak to us through dreams, and could this be a warning?
It could, but I am very leery of these so-called, you know, disaster dreams. I don't think that comes from God. I really don't think so. I don't think so. I believe God gives us exhortation, edification, and comfort. He doesn't give us disaster messages. And so I don't think that's of the Lord. And if something like that comes, again, I want to repeat, the Bible says a curse causeless cannot lie. So if there's a curse been placed upon you and it has no cause, it can't remain. So, you know, why would God curse you? Why does God want to destroy you? Why would you want to have this disaster? Why would your little brother die? God's not going to put that kind of thing on you, and he's not going to scare you either.
Okay, this is Patricia who says, I'm a nurse, and as part of my job, I have to work on Sundays. Am I violating the 10 Commandments by working on the Sabbath?
Well, I think doing humanitarian work, ministers of the gospel preach sermons on Sunday. Sunday school teachers teach on Sunday. And if you're a nurse, you're engaged in humanitarian work, and those people are going to be sick and dying, whether it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And somebody's got to be there. And so, no, you're not violating anything. That isn't work, that's ministry.
I agree. This is Walt, who says, I'm being mocked, blamed, and belittled by my boss at work. I know Jesus said that I should forgive those who do harm to me. How do I handle this situation?
Resign. I really don't think you have to undergo torture of that nature. I think if you have an abusive boss,
you're not going to change him.
You're not going to change him, and if you go to him, he'll get mad at you. But you could try that. You could just say, look, Mr. Smith, I want you to know that I can't take what you've been doing to me. Maybe he's not aware of it. Maybe he's just the way he lives.
Could be his personality. Yeah, some people do that.
It never hurts to speak, but otherwise, go get another job. All right?
Don't tell him till you get the new job, though.
Yes. Thank you, Terry. Terry, you're so wise. All right. Boy.
Rick asks, if you're plagued with a disease, does it mean that God is punishing you for a sin in your life?
Remember the blind man that came to Jesus, and they said, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And he said, neither, but that the glory of God might be revealed in him. I don't think that sin necessarily is the cause of disease. It can be. If you have guilt, if you have hatred, if you have animosity, if you have pent-up rage in your heart, it will destroy your body. There's no question about it. So these psychosomatic diseases are real. So you say, I have a chronic, I don't know what's wrong with you, and I don't know why it is, but not necessarily will sin be the cause of it, but it can, depending on what's in your life.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have for questions today, but we thank you for taking the time to go online and share your thoughts with us.